Book Club. I'm Peter Martin. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by the former literary editor of the Herald newspaper, Hugh MacDonald. Every week on the Book Club, we look at the latest releases in sport and some classics that we think you should go back and try and find a copy because it's well worth reading. And I am pleased to say that this week we are indeed going back in history to Only a Game, a book written by Eamon Dunphy, who is now a well-respected journalist, but this book is all about his career in professional football, and one year in particular, Hugh MacDonald. It's a book that starts off with tremendous optimism, but as the season progresses at Millwall, despair sets in.
Yeah, and it's a great slice of reality. It's the first football book by a footballer that really tells you what it's like inside the game. It doesn't have the little jolly japes that all football biographies had up to then, you know, like cutting the bits off socks and filling jockstrap with liniment, or, you know, falling out gently with managers and but this is really football in the raw, and it was an absolute groundbreaking book when it came out at the time.
Yeah, I mean, Dunphy himself, I think he lived, you know, certainly he's 28 when he's, you know, he's recalling this season at Millwall, and it's a Millwall side in this old second division.
Yep.
And I think there's a real hankering and a real desire, you get a sense of it in here. He just wants to be a man who says, I've played in the top flight in English football.
Yeah, and remember as well that Eamon had been at Manchester United and had taken a step down to get, you know, well, went to York and then ended up at Millwall to get regular football. So he's got this burning ambition, he's got incredible idealism about football, almost romanticism about football, and then he's put into this reality down at the Den, and there's some real fantastic stuff in it, and real moments of real vignettes of brilliance about the players that he's playing against and alongside, and what football's really like when you're a journeyman. Yeah,
and the one real sense I got from the book, Hugh, was if you're a footballer, even in the 21st century, a lot of his thoughts, his insecurities, you know, his disgust at certain aspects of the preparation for games and the games themselves, they still resonate today.
Oh, absolutely, and we're resonating right in the headlines at the moment. I mean, at the highest level possible. You know, I think it's fair to say that the Manchester United players didn't all put a fiver in for Louis van Gaal's Christmas. You know, similarly Chelsea, they didn't have a whip around when Jose left. So players are still disaffected with managers, disaffected with training practices. Of course, the great difference now is that players have got much more power than they did in Dunphy's day.
Yeah, and if there's one real flavour of Bill Shankly rippling through the book, it is football is a simple game complicated by players.
Aye, absolutely, and complicated by the personalities of players. And Dunphy's personality, which we've known, you know, 40 years after this book has been written, is an extraordinary personality. This is a guy who has made a career in Ireland for being a controversialist. I interviewed him when he brought out last year. He brought out his first part of his autobiography, and he was telling me that he can't get a taxi in Dublin. He has to go out and go down the line till somebody takes him, and the reason for that is that he dissed Jack Charlton's team, which was very successful in World Cup and European Championships. He just didn't fancy the way they were playing and said so on RTE, so he really divided the nation. So he's still a controversialist to this day, Eamon.
Yeah, one of the things I do like about the book, though, if somebody was willing to, you know, spare a good few days to delve into it, is the fact that he had an opinion. He was, you know, he just strikes me as one of those guys who would be your perfect union leader, because he was out even at 28 talking to people about the right for players in 1973 and 74 to have freedom of movement.
Yep, and yeah, very much that trade union side to him, and that kind of, he's always a guy who asks why not instead of just, you know, well, why can't we do this, and why, and that's what's made him, you know, such a brilliant commentator, because he's just at odds with the received views of so many other people, and it's made him hated, but it's made him loved, but most of all I think it makes him readable.
Yeah, here's the one great line that I think, you know, even today when you think about football and the way it's changed and how technical it's become, and of course there's so much more to being a footballer. Even in 1973-74 in this book, he sums it up by saying, I'm not happy with the way football's going. It's 90% effort and 10% about what you do on the ball.
Yeah, and it's got even worse from that now. I mean, if you do now, we're trying to measure everything now. I mean, the whole Klopp controversy now is he made his players, you know, run too much. They're running 3 kilometres more than they were under Brendan Rodgers and all that. And this measurement of physical effort has come into it. And to some people's idea that talent is overlooked. I actually don't think so. I actually think football now is a better game to watch than it was in the 70s. I think that's almost indisputable, because I think the technique now, because of the refereeing changes, allows good players protection.
Yeah, and the good thing about it, Hugh, is he absolutely slaughters referees in this. He
slaughters. I mean, Eamon will not take a step back from slaughter. He slaughters journalists as well. Journalists know nothing about the game. Guilty, Your Honour. Yeah, but Eamon doesn't step back and slaughter him. Eamon's the kind of guy who was asked by U2 to write their book Unforgettable Fire, and fell out with them halfway through it. That's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get someone else's perspective on Eamon Dunphy as a footballer. Obviously, as he drops down the leagues, he still holds on to this purist attitude that he was skillful, you know, and other players that were maybe a bit more rugged and had a more energetic role in the team. I don't think he had any time for that.
No, he didn't, and he didn't have the time for that sort of artisan quality. Johnny Giles, who I've spoken to about Eamon Dunphy, and Johnny Giles remembers him as a player, you know, obviously the same era, and he said he was a very gifted player. I mean, he was at Manchester United. Okay, he didn't knock down the doors or pull up the trees at Manchester United, but he was good enough to be signed for them in an era where they were signing players from Ireland. They were only signing the best, the Gileses, and from Northern Ireland, the George Best, and the I mean, so he's, you know, he definitely had a talent.
Yeah, and just to finish off, I think the one great thing about this book, Hugh, that makes it well worthy of people picking it up, even in its present state, is the fact that while he gets inside his own head, it's very similar to other footballers, and footballers even today love a wind-up, and he takes you inside the dressing room, he takes you on the team bus. I mean, he mentions a player that they wound up mercilessly in Gordon Hill, who was a favourite of mine at Manchester United, but boy, at 17 years of age, who would have wanted to have been in the Millwall dressing room getting wound up by Eamon Dunphy and the likes?
Well, I mean, dressing rooms are a brutal place. I mean, we're looking there, behind there's a great picture or painting of Kenny Dalglish, and I was speaking to Ian Rush about his time with Kenny at Liverpool. And he was saying that you had to earn the right just to sit in that dressing room, because Hansen and Dalglish were incredible wind-up merchants, and you had to grow into being a mature personality just to handle the wind-up. I never remember walking down under "This is Anfield," etc. So it was. I mean, football is a brutal place for personalities. You know, it makes you and it can break you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you one thing I love about having you on the programme, Hugh. You can name drop till the cows come.
Oh,
it's fantastic.
You hear the bung dong.
We should have a bell for everyone that you named there. It was fantastic. Dunphy, the book, Only a Game. What are you giving it out of 10?
I'll tell you, because I read it just when I'm old enough to have read it when it just came out, Peter, and it was fantastically groundbreaking for me, and it remains my favourite football book. There you go. So I'll give it 9.5 out of 10.
Well, I'll tell you, you forced me into buying this. I got somebody to get me it as a present. I'll be honest with you, my wife, and I wasn't disappointed by your assessment of it. It was a great book, and because actually I just get a little flavour of a guy I know now, and seeing him at 28, I think it's a great read for footballers, journalists, and anybody who really loves and wants an insight into the game. So I'm going to give it 9.
Right.
So that's high marks indeed for it. Well worth it. Only a Game. And if you click on the link below, you can win this copy of Only a Game by Eamon Dunphy from Hugh MacDonald and from myself, Peter Martin. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. There's lots more book clubs that you can enjoy on plzsoccer.com. Thanks for watching.